The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest room Ambassador Kim Yuna had ever seen. Thousands of seats rose in circles around a central platform filled with representatives from dozens of alien species. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few were made of living crystal. The air smelled like metal and flowers mixed together. Yuna stood at the center platform with her team. Captain Park Do-yeon stood behind her in his military uniform, his face calm and unreadable. Lieutenant Choi Min-ho kept his hands clasped behind his back. Watching everything with sharp eyes, Dr. Baek Ji-won held a tablet with all their prepared documents. Though Yuna had memorized every word, humanity had waited 50 years for this moment. 50 years as observers watching others make decisions that affected human colonies. 50 years of proving themselves through actions instead of words. Today, they would finally ask for full membership and voting rights. High Speaker Velthos of the Morath hegemony sat on the highest seat. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes were completely black. He was over 300 years old and had led the council for most of that time. He looked down at the humans the way someone might look at insects. The council recognizes the human delegation, Velthos said. His voice echoed through the hall. You may speak. Yuna bowed respectfully and began. Honored council members, humanity comes before you today not to ask for charity, but to request recognition of partnership. For 50 years we have contributed to galactic society. We have shared our agricultural technology freely, ending famines on 3 worlds. Our medical researchers have cured diseases that plagued your people for centuries. We have served as neutral mediators in 7 border conflicts, helping species find peace. She paused and looked around the room. Some delegates were nodding. Others seemed bored. Velthos was examining his fingers. We have never asked for payment, Yuna continued. We gave because we believed in cooperation. We believed that all species, young or old, could work together for common good. We now ask that you recognize humanity as full members of this council, with the voice and vote that membership provides. She was about to continue when Velthos raised his hand. The hall fell silent. That is enough, Velthos said. Yuna stopped. High Speaker, I have not finished presenting our case. There is no need. Velthos leaned forward. The council has discussed humanity's petition already. We have reached our decision. Yuna felt Do-yeon shift slightly behind her. This was not the protocol. Petitions were supposed to be heard in full before any decision. Humanity is a young species, Velthos said. You have been traveling between stars for only 80 years. The Morath have done so for 12,000. The Solari for 8,000. The Dothran for 6,000. You are children in this galaxy. Age alone does not determine wisdom, Yuna said carefully. Perhaps not. But your history does? Velthos waved his hand, and a holographic display appeared showing Earth. Images flashed across it, wars, explosions, suffering. Your species nearly destroyed itself multiple times. You fought global wars. You poisoned your own world. You split atoms and used them as weapons against your own kind? Those events were centuries ago, Yuna said. We have grown beyond them, have you? Velthos asked. You are emotional creatures, unpredictable. You act on feelings rather than logic. You form attachments that cloud your judgment. These are not qualities we want in council members. Delegate Orn of the Solari Collective shifted in her seat. She was covered in soft white fur, and her large eyes looked troubled. But she said nothing. Warden Kreth of the Dothran Empire laughed. He was massive, with gray armored skin and tusks jutting from his jaw. Let the children play with their toys a while longer. Perhaps in another 1,000 years they will be ready. Yuna kept her voice steady. With respect, we have earned our place through actions. We ask only for the opportunity to be heard as equals. You have been heard, Velthos said. The answer is no. Then we request formal deliberation. Council law states that any petition. Velthos pressed a button on his chair. Immediately, Yuna felt something change in the air around her. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. She tried again. Nothing. A silencing field. Yuna knew what it was from her studies. It was a technology used to silence species that the council deemed unworthy of speech. It had not been used in over 200 years. The last species silenced had been the Vreth, who were now extinct. The message was clear. Humans were not just denied membership. They were being told they had no right to speak at all. Minho stepped forward, his face red with anger. Do-yun caught his arm and held him still. The captain's expression had not changed, but his jaw was tight. Around the hall, some delegates looked uncomfortable. Others seemed amused. A few were already leaving as if the matter was too small to deserve their attention. Velthos smiled. You may return to your space and continue your observer status. Perhaps in time, you will learn the patience required for council membership. Until then, we have more important matters to discuss. The other council members began talking among themselves, moving on to other business. The humans stood in their bubble of silence, unable to respond. Unable to protest. Dr. Beek Jiwan looked at Yuna. Her eyes asked a question. Yuna gave a small nod. Du Hyan understood. He stepped forward and bowed deeply to the council. One by one, the other humans did the same. A formal bow of respect, the kind humans gave to honored elders, then they turned and walked out. They did not run. They did not push. They moved with perfect dignity, their footsteps the only sound in the sudden quiet that had fallen over the hall. Some delegates stopped talking to watch them go. Perhaps they expected shouting once the humans left the silencing field. Perhaps they expected threats, but the humans said nothing. Even when they passed beyond the field and could speak again, they remained silent. They walked through the corridors of the station, past alien merchants and diplomats who stared at them, and they said nothing. They boarded their shuttle in silence. They returned to their ship in silence. Only when they were aboard the human vessel Dawn's Light did anyone speak. Minho turned to Do-yun, his fists clenched. Sir, we cannot let this stand. They humiliated us. They made their choice, Do-yun said quietly. Now we will make ours. He looked at Dr. Beek. Begin protocol, quiet son? Beek nodded and moved to the communications console. Her fingers flew across the controls. Yuna stood at the window, watching the council station grow smaller as they pulled away. 50 years of service. 50 years of generosity. And this was how the galaxy answered. What happens now? Minho asked. Yuna did not turn from the window. They wanted silence. We will give them silence. And in that silence they will learn exactly what they have lost. Across human space, on 1,000 ships and stations and colonies, a single message arrived. It was short. It contained no explanations and no orders. But every human who read it understood what it meant. The message said, they chose not to hear us. Now they will learn to listen. And humanity fell silent. 3 months passed. At first, nobody noticed anything wrong. The Moreth hegemony continued its business as usual. High Speaker Velthos attended parties and made speeches about the glory of ancient species and the foolishness of young ones. When advisors mentioned that human trade ships had not arrived at Moreth ports, he waved his hand and said the humans were sulking like children. They would return soon enough. The Sayo Collective noticed first. Director Han Tai-wo, the head of the Human Trade Consortium, had recalled all human merchants from galactic markets. The Solari had 3 colony worlds that depended on human grain shipments. When the ships stopped coming, they sent urgent messages to Earth. The replies were polite. We appreciate your inquiry and will respond at our earliest convenience. No timeline. No explanation. Just polite words that said nothing. Delegate Oren contacted Ambassador Kim Yuna directly. They had worked together before, and Oren considered them something like friends. Please, Oren wrote, my people need those shipments. Tell me what we must do to restore them. Yuna's reply took 3 days to arrive. It was one sentence. Actions have consequences. Oren read those 3 words over and over. She thought about the council meeting. She thought about how she had said nothing when Velthos activated the silencing field. She had disagreed with his actions, but she had been afraid to speak against him. Now her people would pay for her silence. On the human border, Admiral Shin Yunji repositioned the defense fleet. Her ships took up positions at every entry point into human space. They did not block traffic. They did not turn anyone away. They simply sat there, watching, silent. When alien merchants approached human stations asking for trade, they were told that all commerce was suspended until further notice. When they asked why, the humans just shook their heads. We have no comment at this time. Engineer Song Era worked for 3 weeks without sleep. Her team had built the quantum relay stations that allowed 7 species to communicate instantly across vast distances. These stations were gifts from humanity, offered freely to promote galactic cooperation. Now, Era and her team visited each station and switched them off. The affected species woke up one morning to find that their instant communications were gone. Messages that once took seconds now took weeks. Military orders, trade agreements, emergency calls for help, all of them crawled through space at speeds not seen in centuries. The Dothran Empire was hit hardest. Warden Kreth had used human-designed sensor arrays to monitor his borders. These arrays could detect ships from an entire star system away, giving the Dothran early warning of any attack. When the arrays went dark, Kreth sent engineers to fix them. The engineers found nothing broken. The arrays simply required human codes to operate, and those codes had been changed. Without them, the technology was useless. "Get me those codes." Kreth roared at his subordinates. "Contact the humans and demand they restore our systems." His subordinates sent messages to Earth. They received no reply. Kreth sent more messages, angrier ones. He threatened consequences. He demanded to speak with human military commanders. Silence. The Morath hegemony faced different problems. Human medical teams had been working on several Morath worlds, treating diseases that Morath doctors could not cure. These teams packed their equipment one night and left without a word. When the Morath Health Ministry tried to continue the treatments using human protocols, they found that all documentation had been removed from shared databases. The research was gone. The treatment plans were gone. Even the training materials were gone. "They are trying to blackmail us," Velthos declared at a council meeting. "They think they can force us to grant them membership by holding our people hostage. This is exactly the kind of emotional manipulation I warned you about. Young species cannot be trusted." Delegate Oren stood. "High Speaker, with respect, they are not holding anyone hostage. They are simply leaving. They have that right. They have the right to let our people die? Did we have the right to silence them?" Oren asked quietly. The hall went still. Nobody spoke against Velthos so directly. The High Speaker's black eyes narrowed. "Sit down, Delegate," he said coldly. Oren sat, but others were starting to ask the same question. In private meetings and whispered conversations, delegates wondered if perhaps the council had made a mistake. The humans had never asked for much. They had given freely for 50 years. And what had the council given them in return? A silencing field. The treatment reserved for species unworthy of words. Councilwoman Lee Soo-min held a press conference on Earth. Reporters from human worlds filled the room, expecting her to address the galactic situation. Instead, she talked only about domestic matters. "We are pleased to announce expanded funding for human colony development," she said. "Our agricultural programs will be redirected to support new settlements in the outer reach. Medical research will focus on human health needs. Infrastructure investment will prioritize human worlds." A reporter raised her hand. "Councilwoman, what about our commitments to galactic partners? The Solari are facing famine. The Morath have medical emergencies." Lee Soo-min's expression did not change. "Our resources are not unlimited. We must prioritize our own people. If other species wish to discuss partnership with Earth, they may submit formal requests through appropriate channels." "What channels?" "We will establish them when we are ready." The message spread across the galaxy. Humanity was not just withdrawing temporarily. They were rebuilding their entire society around self-sufficiency. They were preparing to exist without the rest of the galaxy. Captain No Hyunsik commanded a patrol ship on the edge of human space. One day, his sensors detected a small vessel drifting without power. When he investigated, he found it was a Solari refugee ship. 30 people huddled inside, fleeing the famine on their colony world. Protocol said he should turn them away. Human space was closed. But Hyunsik looked at the children pressing their faces against the windows, their large Solari eyes full of fear, and he made a decision. He brought them aboard. His crew gave them food and water and warm blankets. The Solari wept with gratitude. "Thank you," their leader said. "We thought humans had abandoned the galaxy." Hyunsik shook his head. "We are not cruel. We are simply no longer generous." He gave them enough supplies to reach the nearest Solari station and sent them on their way. When he reported the incident to Admiral Shin, she did not punish him. She simply noted it in the log and said nothing more. Velthos continued to mock humanity in his speeches. He called them petty and childish. He said their withdrawal proved they were unfit for council membership. He predicted they would come crawling back within weeks, begging for forgiveness, but weeks passed. Then months. The humans did not come back. They did not send messages. They did not make demands or threats. They simply continued their silence, and in that silence, the galaxy began to understand what it had lost: the ships that carried food, the doctors who cured diseases, the engineers who built wonders, the mediators who prevented wars. All of it given freely for 50 years. All of it gone in a single moment of arrogance. Delegate Oren looked at the reports crossing her desk: crop failures, supply shortages, rising tensions, and felt something she had not felt in a long time. Fear, not of human weapons or human anger. Fear of what the galaxy was becoming without human help. She began composing a message to Ambassador Yuna. She wrote and erased it a dozen times. What could she say? What words could fix what the council had broken? In the end, she sent only one line: "Please, we need you." She waited for a reply. It never came. 6 months after the silencing, the galaxy began to fall apart. It did not happen all at once. It happened slowly, like water wearing away stone. One problem led to another, and another, until everything was crumbling. The Solari grain harvest failed. Without human agricultural experts to guide them, the Solari farmers made mistakes. They used the wrong fertilizers. They planted at the wrong times. They did not know how to fight the insects that ate their crops. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. 2 colony worlds faced famine. Millions of Solari went hungry. Children cried for food that did not exist. Elders gave up their portions so the young could eat. And then the elders began to die. Delegate Oren begged the council for help. She asked the Morath to share their food supplies. She asked the Dothran to send emergency shipments. Velthos refused. The Solari must learn to solve their own problems. We cannot coddle weak species. Warden Kreth laughed. Perhaps if you had supported me when I wanted to force the humans to return, you would not be starving now. Oren looked at them and felt sick. These were supposed to be her allies. These were supposed to be civilized beings. And they would let her people die rather than admit they had made a mistake. The Dothran had their own problems. Without the human sensor arrays, their borders were blind. They could not see threats coming until it was too late. A pirate faction called the Red Wake had been contained for decades. The Dothran kept them trapped in a small region of space, unable to expand. But now the pirates saw their chance. They gathered their ships and attacked. The Dothran never saw them coming. The Red Wake hit 3 outposts and a mining station in a single week. They stole resources, destroyed infrastructure, and killed hundreds of Dothran soldiers. Warden Kreth lost 3 of his best warships in the fighting. He raged and cursed and demanded revenge. But revenge required knowing where the enemy was, and without the sensors, the Dothran were fighting blind. Every time they sent a fleet to hunt the pirates disappeared. Every time the Dothran relaxed their guard, the pirates struck again. "This is the humans' fault," Kreth shouted at the council. "They sabotaged our defenses. They are helping our enemies." "They did not sabotage anything," Oren said tiredly. "They simply stopped maintaining the gifts they gave us. Gifts we never thanked them for." "Gifts? Those systems were ours. Were they? Did we build them?" Did we pay for them? Oren shook her head. We took everything the humans offered and gave nothing in return. Now we are learning what their generosity was worth. Kreth slammed his fist on his console. Then we will take back what is ours by force. Even Velthos looked uncertain at that. Attacking human space would mean war. And despite their young age, humans had proven themselves capable fighters. Their ships were fast and well-armed. Their soldiers were determined. A war with humanity would be long and bloody. We will not start a war, Velthos said. The humans will return eventually. They cannot survive without galactic trade. But reports from human space said otherwise. Human colonies were thriving. Human farms were producing more than ever. Human factories were building new ships, new stations, new technology. They were not just surviving without the galaxy. They were flourishing. The worst disaster came on a Morith colony world called Vether Prime. A plague broke out, a mutation of a disease that human doctors had contained years ago. Without the treatment protocols, the Morith doctors could do nothing. The sickness spread from city to city. People collapsed in the streets. Hospitals overflowed. Medic Jang Myre had worked on Vether Prime before the withdrawal. She had helped develop the treatment that saved thousands of lives. Now she sat on a human station and watched the news reports from the Morith world. The death toll climbed every day. 10,000. 50,000. 100,000. Her hands shook as she read the numbers. She had taken an oath to help the sick. She had dedicated her life to healing. And now people were dying because she was not there. She went to Councilwoman Lee Suman and asked permission to return to Vether Prime. I can save them, she said. I know the treatment. Please, let me go. Lee Suman looked at her with sad eyes. If I send you, I must send others. And if I send others, we return to what we were before, giving everything and receiving nothing. The Council will learn nothing. They will use us until the next crisis and then discard us again. But people are dying. People have always died. We cannot save everyone. We can only hope that this suffering teaches the galaxy to value what we offer. Lee Suman put her hand on Mireille's shoulder. I am sorry. The answer is no. Mireille left the office in tears. She was not the only one. Across human space, doctors and engineers and teachers struggled with the same choice. They had spent their lives helping others. Staying silent felt like betrayal, but they stayed silent. Because they understood that temporary kindness would only lead to permanent disrespect. The galaxy had to learn. And lessons were never painless. On Vether Prime, the death toll reached 200,000 before the plague burned itself out. The Morith survivors were too weak to bury their dead. They piled bodies in the streets and burned them. Velthos gave a speech honoring the fallen. He blamed the humans for their deaths. He called humanity murderers and cowards. He demanded justice, but when reporters asked what justice looked like, he had no answer. What could he do? Attack human space and start a war while his own people were weakened? Beg the humans to return after insulting them for months? He did nothing. He gave speeches and made threats and did nothing. Delegate Oren could not bear it anymore. She took a ship and flew to the human border alone. She had no appointment. She had no permission from the council. She simply went. Human patrol ships intercepted her immediately. They escorted her to a station and brought her to a waiting area. She sat for hours, watching human officers walk past without looking at her. Finally, someone came to see her. It was Medic Jang Myre. Delegate Oren, Myre said. Her voice was flat. Her eyes were red from crying. Why are you here? Oren stood. I am requesting asylum for Solari refugees. My people are starving. Please, let them come to human space. Let them survive. Myre was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. We will provide food and shelter for refugees at this station, but they cannot go further into human space. Our worlds are closed. Closed? But you silenced us when we offered friendship, Myre said. We will help you survive, but we will not carry you anymore. You must learn to stand on your own. Oren felt tears on her face. We made a terrible mistake. I made a terrible mistake. I should have spoken for you at the council. I should have defended you. Yes, you should have. Murray's expression softened slightly. But you did not. And now we are all living with the consequences. She led Oren to a communication console. Send for your refugees. We will feed them. That is all we can offer. Oren sent the message. Within days, Solari ships began arriving at the station. Humans gave them food and medicine and warm places to sleep. They were kind but distant. They helped, but they did not smile. Oren watched her people eating human food in a human station and understood something important. This was not partnership. This was charity. The humans were keeping them alive, but they were not welcoming them. The door to human friendship had closed. And Oren did not know if it would ever open again. She sent a report to the council describing what she had seen. She told them about human strength and human determination. She told them that humanity did not need the galaxy anymore. She begged them to make peace before it. It was too late. The council did not reply. 1 year after the silencing, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The Great Hall was full, but the mood was nothing like before. There was no arrogance now, no laughter at young species. Only fear. High Speaker Velthos sat in his high seat, but he looked smaller somehow. His pale blue skin had turned gray with stress. His black eyes darted around the room, looking for enemies. He had reason to worry. Half the council wanted him gone. Delegate Oren stood before the assembly. High Speaker, the evidence is clear. Your decision to silence the human delegation has caused a cascade of disasters across the galaxy. The Solari famine has killed 300,000. The Dothran have lost 12 ships to pirates they cannot track. The Morath plague took 200,000 lives. Other species report similar crises. We are falling apart. Velthos gripped his chair. You blame me for natural disasters? For pirate attacks? The humans are responsible for this. They withdrew their support out of spite. They withdrew because we humiliated them, Oren said. Because we told them they were not worthy of speech. What did you expect them to do? Warden Kreth slammed his fist on his console. Enough of this weakness. I told you from the beginning we should force the humans to return. Blockade their space. Cut off their trade routes. They are a young species with a small fleet. They cannot stand against the combined might of the Council. You want to start a war? Oren asked. I want to solve the problem. Talking has achieved nothing. The humans ignore our messages. They refuse our diplomats. They sit in their space and watch us suffer. Fine, we will make them pay attention. Velthos nodded slowly. Perhaps the warden is right. A show of force may remind the humans of their place? Oren stepped forward. Before you make that decision, I have something you need to see. She activated a holographic display. Images appeared showing human space, but not the human space they remembered. The border stations that had once been simple outposts were now fortresses. Massive weapon platforms surrounded them. Ships patrolled in tight formations. This is intelligence gathered during my time at the human border, Oren said. The humans have spent the past year preparing for exactly this scenario. Their fleet has doubled in size. Their defensive systems have tripled. Every station is equipped with self-destruct systems. Every ship carries weapons capable of mutual destruction. The images change to show human military commanders in planning sessions. They call it the Porcupine Doctrine. Their space is not designed for conquest. It is designed to be too costly to take. You can attack them. You might even win. But they will make you pay in blood for every station, every ship, every planet. By the time you defeat them, if you defeat them, your own forces will be crippled. Warden Kreth studied the images. His confidence faded. They were preparing for war this whole time. They were preparing for us, Oren said. They knew we might try to force them back. They decided that if we wanted war, they would give us one we would never forget. Bluffs, Velthos said. They are trying to scare us, are they? Oren switched to another image. It showed a human scientist working on something, a device that glowed with strange light. They have also developed new technology. We do not know what it does. They have not shared it with anyone. But our analysts believe it is significant. Perhaps a new weapon. Perhaps new defenses. Perhaps both. The council chamber fell silent. The aliens looked at each other, and for the first time, they truly understood what they were facing. Humanity was not a young species waiting for permission to join the adults. Humanity was a power that had chosen to grow in silence. And now that power was ready for whatever came. Velthos spoke carefully. Perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The humans are clearly upset. We should send a diplomatic mission to address their concerns. We have sent 12 diplomatic missions, Oren said. They refuse to meet with any of them. Then we will send better diplomats. You do not understand. Oren turned to face the full council. They are not waiting for better diplomats. They are not waiting for apologies. They have decided that they do not need us. Look at their worlds. They are thriving. Their people are healthy and fed and prosperous. They have built a society that does not require galactic trade or council approval. We did not just insult them. We showed them that they were fools to depend on us. And they will never make that mistake again. In the days that followed, the council debated endlessly. Some wanted war. Some wanted peace. Some wanted to pretend nothing was wrong and hope the problem would solve itself. On Earth, President Moon Jae watched the reports from the council with calm eyes. She had been elected 6 months ago on a platform of human strength and independence. The people had chosen her because she would not beg. General Yu Seok-jin sat beside her, reviewing the defense reports. They are considering military action. Warden Kreth has been meeting with other military commanders. They may try to form a coalition. Let them try, President Moon said. Every species that joins the coalition is a species that stops receiving human aid. Let them choose between attacking us and feeding their people. And if they choose to attack anyway, then we implement the porcupine. We make every meter of space cost them dearly. We will not win a war against the entire council, but we will make sure no one else wins either. Historian Kwon entered with a tablet. Madam President, we have received a private message from High Speaker Velthos. Moon took the tablet and read. Her expression did not change. He offers us full council membership in exchange for resuming aid. General Yu leaned forward. That is what we wanted. That is why we did all this. No, that is what they think we wanted. Moon set the tablet down. He offers membership out of desperation, not respect. The moment the crisis passes, they will find a way to silence us again. They will see our membership as a debt we owe them for their generosity rather than a right we earned. She called for her aide. Send this reply. The President of Earth declines to meet with representatives of the Galactic Council. Membership offered through desperation is not membership. It is a leash. We will not wear it. The aide's eyes widened. Madam President, are you sure? This may be our only chance for membership. If it is offered this way, it was never real membership at all. Moon looked out the window at the stars. We will not accept scraps from their table. When they are ready to treat us as equals truly equals, they know where to find us. The message was sent. The council received it in shock. Velthos read it 3 times, unable to believe that anyone would reject his offer. He had given the humans what they wanted. Why were they refusing? He did not understand. He had spent 300 years leading species who feared his power and needed his approval. He had never met anyone who simply did not care what he thought. The council session dissolved into chaos. Species blamed each other. Alliances fractured. Old grudges resurfaced. The Dothran accused the Celery of weakness. The Solari accused the Morath of arrogance. Everyone accused everyone else of causing the human problem, and through it all, the humans remained silent. They watched. They waited. They grew stronger. General Yu asked President Moon how long they would wait. She smiled slightly. As long as necessary. We are not the ones who are suffering. We are not the ones who are afraid. Time is on our side. She looked at the reports from galactic space, the famines, the plagues, the conflicts, and felt a moment of sadness. I wish it had not come to this. I wish they had heard us when we spoke with kindness. But they did not. So now they will hear our silence. And perhaps in that silence they will finally learn to listen. Far away, in the council hall, Delegate Orn watched her fellow representatives argue and fight and accomplish nothing. She thought about Ambassador Kim Yuna walking out with her head held high. She thought about the humans bowing respectfully even as they were being silenced. Dignity, that was what the humans had. Dignity that did not depend on anyone else's approval. Orn wished her people had learned that lesson long ago. She wished she had spoken when it mattered. Now, all she could do was hope it was not too late to learn. 18 months after the silencing, High Speaker Velthos fell. It happened quietly, without drama or violence. The council simply voted. 37 species against him, 12 for him, the rest abstaining. For the first time in Morath history, a High Speaker was removed by his own people. His replacement was a younger Morath named Thulver. He had opposed Velthos privately for years, but had never had the courage to speak publicly. Now, with the galaxy in crisis and Velthos's failures obvious to everyone, Thulver finally stepped forward. His first act as High Speaker was something unprecedented. He recorded a message and broadcast it on all council channels to every species in the galaxy. "I speak to the people of Earth," Thulver said, looking into the camera. His voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I offer a formal apology." He paused. The words were hard to say. Morath did not apologize. It was not in their culture. But Thulver forced himself to continue. 18 months ago, my predecessor silenced your delegation. He denied you your voice. He treated you as lesser beings, unworthy of respect. This was wrong. It was unjust. It was cruel. And it has caused suffering across the galaxy, suffering that we brought upon ourselves through our arrogance. He took a breath. We ask you to return to galactic society. Not as petitioners, not as servants, as equals, as partners. We have learned what the galaxy looks like without human generosity. We do not wish to learn that lesson again. The message spread across human space. People watched it on screens in their homes and workplaces. They discussed it in meetings and on the networks. Some were moved by the apology. Others were suspicious. After everything that had happened, could they trust the council? President Moon Jae called an assembly of human leaders to discuss the offer. The debate lasted 3 days. They only apologize because they are suffering, argued Admiral Shen Yunji. The moment we help them recover, they will forget their promises. We should stay separate. We do not need them. But they need us, said Medic Zhang Marais. And we became spacefarers to help others, not to hide from them. If we turn away now, are we not becoming as cold as they were? Historian Quan Yaran presented a different view. We cannot return to what we were before. Giving freely led to being taken for granted. But perhaps we can create something new. A different kind of relationship. One where both sides must contribute. Dr. Beek Ji-wan had been working on exactly that problem. She stood before the assembly and presented her proposal. I call it the New Compact, she said. We will return to galactic society, but on different terms. No more free gifts. No more unconditional aid. Human assistance will come with agreements, oversight, mutual obligation. If a species wants our help, they must offer something in return, not necessarily goods or money, but commitment, partnership, responsibility. She showed examples. Medical aid would require the receiving species to train their own doctors and share their own research. Agricultural support would require them to develop sustainable practices. Technology transfers would require them to contribute to further development. We will be partners, Beek said. Not saviors. We will help others help themselves. And if they abuse our trust again, we will withdraw again. They will know the cost. The Assembly voted to accept the new compact as their framework for returning to galactic society. Ambassador Kim Yuna was chosen to present it to the Council. She had not been to the Great Hall since the day she was silenced. As her ship approached the Council station, she felt the memories return, the humiliation, the anger, the long walk out in silence, but she also felt something else, pride her people had endured. They had grown stronger. They had proven that they did not need anyone's approval to thrive. Now she would show the galaxy who they truly were. The council chamber was full when she arrived. Every species had sent representatives. They watched her walk to the center platform, the same platform where she had stood 18 months ago. High Speaker Thalver rose. Ambassador Kim Yuna, on behalf of the council, we welcome you. Yuna bowed. A formal bow of respect, the same bow she had given before walking out. Then she spoke. Her voice was clear and strong, carrying to every corner of the hall. You asked us to be silent, and we were. In that silence, you heard what our words could not convey. We were never weak. We were patient. We were not dependent on your approval. We were choosing to share our strength. When you rejected that choice, we made a different one. She looked around at the assembled delegates. Oren was watching with tears in her eyes. Kreth sat with his arms crossed, but he was listening. Even the species who had mocked humanity before now watched with respect. We did not withdraw to punish you, Yuna continued. We withdrew to survive, to protect ourselves from those who would use us without valuing us. We built a society that does not need the galaxy. We can continue building it. We do not need to be here. She paused. But we choose to be here because we still believe in cooperation. We still believe that different species can work together for common good. We are willing to try again. She presented the new compact. She explained each provision carefully. Aid would be negotiated, not given. Partnerships would be mutual, not one-sided. Humans would join the council as full members with complete voting rights. And one more thing, she said. The silencing field will be banned permanently. No species will ever be denied their voice again. If you cannot agree to this, we will leave now and never return. The chamber was quiet. Thalver looked at the other delegates. Some nodded immediately. Others hesitated. Warden Kreth scowled, but even he did not object. The silencing field was a symbol of everything that had gone wrong. Banning it was the least they could do. We accept, Thalver said. All provisions. The new compact will be the foundation of our partnership with humanity. The vote was unanimous. Yuna felt something release in her chest. Not joy exactly. Not triumph. Something more like peace. They had done it. Not through war or threats, but through patience and strength and dignity. The ceremony that followed was formal and brief. Humanity officially became a full member of the Galactic Council. Ambassador Yuna was given a seat among the delegates. When she sat down, Delegate Oren reached over and grasped her hand. I'm sorry, Oren whispered. For everything. Yuna squeezed her hand. Then let us do better. Both of us. The human fleet departed the council station the next day. Young Officer Ojisu stood on the observation deck of the flagship, watching the stars. Admiral Park Do-yun joined her. Do you think it will last? Jisu asked. The peace? The partnership? Do-yun considered the question. He thought about everything they had been through, the insult, the withdrawal, the long months of silence. He thought about the council's arrogance and humanity's patience. They did not respect us when we gave freely, he said. They feared us when we withdrew. Perhaps now they will understand us. And what will we do now? We move forward. We build partnerships where we can. We protect ourselves where we must. And we never forget what silence taught us. Jisu nodded. She was young, only 26, but she had grown up during the withdrawal. She had seen what humanity could do when pushed. She had learned that strength was not about weapons or anger. It was about knowing your worth and refusing to accept less. I hope we never have to be silent. Again, she said, so do I. Do-yun looked out at the stars, the vast galaxy. full of species and worlds and possibilities. But if we must, we will, and they will listen. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying them home. Behind them, the council station grew small and disappeared in the great hall. The delegates were already discussing new business. But something had changed. When they spoke of humanity now, they spoke with respect. When they made plans, they considered human interests. They had learned what the galaxy looked like without human partnership. They did not want to learn it again, and in human space, on 1,000 worlds and stations and ships, people looked up at the stars and felt something they had not felt in a long time. Hope. Not hope for acceptance. They did not need that anymore. Hope for the future. For partnerships built on respect. For a galaxy that had finally learned to listen. They had proven themselves not through conquest or threats, but through the simple act of knowing their worth, and that, in the end, was the most human thing of all.